If you're over 60, I want you to listen for a moment and see if any of this feels familiar. You go to bed at a reasonable hour. You're tired. You've done your best to slow the day down, but sleep feels thin, unsteady. And then it happens. Somewhere between 1 and 3 in the morning, your eyes open. Not because of noise, not because of a dream, but because something inside simply refuses to stay asleep. Your heart feels a little too aware. Your mind flickers on. And no matter how you breathe or turn, your body won't release you back into sleep. This isn't just aging, and this can be changed. Maybe you've tried melatonin, maybe chamomile, magnesium, maybe even prescription sleep aids. They might help you fall asleep, but they often don't reach the real mechanism that wakes older adults at the same exact hour. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed, and after 25 years treating sleep disruption in adults over 60, I can tell you this with confidence. One of the most common triggers for these early morning awakenings is a nighttime cortisol surge, a stress signal inside the body, not outside of it. And here's the hopeful part. There are 6 simple 1 tablespoon remedies that can gently calm that cortisol response and help your brain settle back into sleep, naturally without forcing anything. If any of this sounds like your night, tap the like button so more seniors can finally understand what's waking them. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from. It helps me know who I'm walking through these long nights with. To understand why a single tablespoon can make such a difference, we need to look at what actually shifts inside the body after 60. Not in theory. In biology, your sleep depends on a predictable cortisol curve. High in the morning to wake you, low at night to keep you asleep. But after 60, that curve begins to flatten. The drop that should happen at night becomes smaller, and the brain becomes far more sensitive to even a small rise. When that curve slips, the night breaks. The second piece is nighttime blood sugar. As we age, the liver doesn't hold as much glycogen, the fuel reserve that stabilizes the brain during the night. When that fuel dips too low around 2 to 3 a.m., the brain interprets it as danger. And what does the body release when it senses danger? Cortisol. It's one of the biggest, most overlooked triggers for those predictable early morning awakenings. The third factor is the inflammation stress loop. Inflammation raises cortisol. Cortisol fragments sleep. Fragmented sleep increases inflammation. It's a cycle many older adults are stuck in without realizing it. And finally, the parasympathetic system, the system meant to calm you, becomes weaker. GABA declines. Muscles stay tense. The heart stays slightly alert. You become tired but wired, unable to descend into real rest. And this is why 1 tablespoon can help. Warmth, glucose, minerals, amino acids, delivered in the right form, send signals your nervous system still understands, signals that say, you're safe, you can let go. Number 6, collagen peptides. A tablespoon so familiar that most older adults overlook it completely. Yet it can be one of the gentlest ways to quiet a nighttime cortisol spike. Let me explain why this works. Collagen isn't just a joint or skin supplement. Inside that single tablespoon is glycine, an amino acid your nervous system uses as a natural slowdown signal. Glycine helps lower core body temperature by a small, steady margin. And that drop is one of the strongest cues the brain uses to enter deeper sleep. It doesn't sedate you. It simply tells the body, it's time to settle. And that matters even more after 60. As we age, the nighttime systems that used to work effortlessly, temperature regulation, glucose balance, cortisol rhythm, become more fragile. A small shift feels bigger. A mild stress signal wakes you more easily. Glycine helps buffer that sensitivity, easing the nervous system back toward parasympathetic mode, the state your body must reach to sleep through the night. There's research showing glycine improves sleep quality in older adults by increasing deep-stage sleep and reducing the wired but tired feeling. Not by forcing unconsciousness the way some medications do, but by restoring the internal cues the brain relies on. The way to use it is simple. 1 tablespoon of collagen peptides dissolved in warm water or warm milk, 30 to 45 minutes before bed. Warm, not hot. Hot liquids can stimulate circulation too strongly and interfere with the calming effect. But a gently warm drink delivers glycine at the perfect pace, supporting that natural temperature dip your body struggles to create on its own. I remember a man in his 70s who woke almost every night at 2:15 a.m. He wasn't anxious. He wasn't uncomfortable. His body just couldn't stay asleep. We tried routines, breathing, light exposure, and nothing changed. But within a week of adding collagen before bed, his awakening shortened. Within 2 weeks, he stayed asleep more nights than not. Not because collagen is powerful, but because glycine gave his nervous system a signal it still recognized a small note. If you have kidney concerns, or if protein powders sometimes upset your stomach, start with half a tablespoon and increase slowly. The goal is calm, not overload. And if collagen feels simple, number 5 will surprise you even more, because it's something almost every kitchen already has, yet few seniors ever think to use it for sleep. Number 5, lemon juice. A single tablespoon, something so ordinary, so familiar, that most seniors never imagine it could influence their sleep chemistry. But used the right way, at the right hour, lemon can soften one of the most stubborn drivers of early morning wakefulness, nighttime cortisol. Here's why. Lemon isn't just sour water. Inside that 1 tablespoon is vitamin C, polyphenols, and limonene, 3 compounds that speak directly to the nervous system. Vitamin C helps the adrenal glands regulate cortisol output. Polyphenols reduce the microinflammation that keeps cortisol elevated at night. And limonene, released as aroma even from warm lemon water, interacts with the limbic system to quiet the alert centers of the brain. This combination matters after 60 because your nighttime physiology changes. Cortisol doesn't fall as sharply. Melatonin doesn't rise as easily. And the nervous system becomes quicker to interpret small internal changes, like digestive discomfort or glucose dips. As danger, lemon helps buffer that cascade by lowering adrenal strain and relaxing the sympathetic tone that keeps older adults half awake even while lying still. But there's another reason lemon can help sleep: the liver. Your liver works overnight to keep blood sugar stable. As we age, that stability weakens. When the liver struggles, the brain senses it immediately and responds by releasing cortisol. Lemon supports liver function through gentle detox pathways, reducing that internal stress signal and making 2 to 3 a.m. awakenings far less likely. I've seen this firsthand. A 72-year-old woman named Marjorie came to my clinic after months of waking at nearly the same time every night, 2:40 a.m. She wasn't anxious. She wasn't in pain. Her body simply flipped on, like someone turned a switch. We made small changes, but the turning point came when she added 1 tablespoon of lemon juice in warm water about an hour before bed. Within 4 nights, the awakening shortened. Within 2 weeks, many nights she slept straight through. Not because lemon is powerful, but because her cortisol finally had room to fall. Here's how to use it correctly. Warm, not hot water. 1 tablespoon of fresh lemon juice, not bottled. Sip it slowly, about 60 minutes before bed. This timing allows the adrenal liver signal to settle before you lie down. A few cautions. If you have reflux, reduce to half a tablespoon or switch to a foot soak method from later in the countdown. If you're sensitive to acidity, drink it with a very small pinch of sea salt to balance the stomach response. Lemon seems simple, but number 4 approaches the problem from a completely different angle. One that targets the single biggest hidden cause of 2 to 3 a.m. wake-ups, the glucose crash. Number 4, apple cider vinegar. A single tablespoon that looks almost too simple, yet it targets one of the most overlooked reasons older adults wake up between 2 and 3 in the morning, the nighttime glucose crash. Most seniors never hear about this. They blame age. They blame stress. But the truth is far more practical. Your brain needs a steady flow of fuel through the night, not a spike. Just a gentle, even supply. And after 60, the liver doesn't store glycogen as reliably. Its reserve tank empties faster than it used to. When that fuel dips too low around 2 to 3 a.m., your brain sends out an internal alarm. Not fear, just a signal for survival, and that signal is cortisol. That cortisol surge snaps you awake even if the house is silent and nothing is wrong. This is exactly where ACV becomes unexpectedly powerful. The acetic acid in apple cider vinegar slows the emptying of the stomach, flattens any late evening glucose swings, and stabilizes the liver's release of fuel through the night. In simple terms, ACV helps prevent the drop that triggers the cortisol spike. There's more. ACV improves insulin sensitivity, meaning your body uses fuel more efficiently at night instead of overcorrecting and sending mixed signals to the brain. For older adults whose metabolism has become more fragile, this can be the difference between drifting gently through the night and waking up wide awake at 2:14 a.m. for no apparent reason. I saw this in a patient of mine named Harold, age 76. He wasn't anxious. He wasn't in pain. He simply woke almost every night at the same exact time. His body wasn't misbehaving. It was compensating. We added 1 tablespoon of ACV in warm water, 30 to 45 minutes before bed. Within days, the cortisol surge softened. Within 2 weeks, his nights became whole again. Not because ACV is strong, but because it steadied the signal his brain depended on. How to use it correctly. 1 tablespoon ACV in warm, not hot water, 30 to 45 minutes before bed, sipping slowly. Warmth delivers the message gently. Too hot, and the body reads it as stimulation. A few cautions: if you struggle with reflux, dilute it more or choose another method from later in this list. If you take glucose-lowering medication or have diabetes, monitor your response closely. And always choose ACV with the mother, not flavored vinegar. ACV helps secure the night's fuel. But the next remedy brings something deeper: a direct boost to melatonin, inflammation control, and the brain's ability to re-enter real sleep. Number 3, tart cherry concentrate. A single tablespoon with a deeper impact than most people expect, because it works on two of the most powerful forces that control your night: inflammation and melatonin. Most seniors think melatonin is something you take in a pill, but long before supplements existed, the body produced melatonin naturally, in steady, elegant waves. As long as two things were stable, inflammation stayed low and serotonin conversion stayed smooth. After 60, both begin to shift. Inflammation rises more easily, melatonin production becomes weaker, and deep sleep becomes harder to access. This is where tart cherry stands out from almost anything else you can use in 1 tablespoon. Tart cherry concentrate is rich in anthocyanins, deep red pigments that act like extinguishers for the inflammatory sparks that raise cortisol at night. These pigments don't sedate the brain. They reduce the friction that keeps the brain alert when it should be descending into rest. Then comes the second piece. Tart cherries are one of the only foods on the planet that contain natural melatonin in meaningful amounts, not synthetic, not forceful, natural. And that matters because natural melatonin tends to guide the brain rather than push it. It doesn't knock you out. It restores the rhythm your body once followed on its own. I'll give you an example. A 74-year-old woman named Evelyn came to see me after nearly a decade of poor sleep. She fell asleep easily, but woke up 3 to 4 times a night, always feeling like her brain was hovering rather than resting. We added 1 tablespoon of tart cherry concentrate in warm water about an hour before bed. Within a week, her awakenings dropped. Within 2 weeks, she reached deeper sleep she hadn't felt in years. The key wasn't sedation. It was inflammation down, melatonin up, cortisol quiet. Here's exactly how to use it. 1 tablespoon tart cherry concentrate, mix with warm, not hot water. Drink 45 to 60 minutes before bed. Warm water helps circulation without overstimulating the system. A few cautions: if you're diabetic, monitor your glucose. Tart cherry is concentrated, so start with half a tablespoon and increase slowly. If you're sensitive to sour drinks, dilute more heavily. Tart cherry brings the night back into alignment, but number 2 goes even deeper, reaching into the mineral side of sleep, supporting the muscles, the nerves, and the glucose rhythm all at once. Number 2, blackstrap molasses. This is the one most people don't see coming. It looks old-fashioned, almost outdated, something your grandparents might have kept in the pantry. But when you understand the biology of sleep after 60, it becomes clear why 1 tablespoon of blackstrap molasses can calm cortisol faster and more reliably than many modern supplements. Blackstrap molasses is one of the densest natural sources of magnesium and potassium, two minerals your nervous system depends on to switch out of the wired state and into parasympathetic rest. Magnesium relaxes smooth muscle and reduces the tension that builds silently through the day, in the chest, in the jaw, in the gut. Potassium stabilizes electrical activity in the heart and nerves, lowering the background hum that makes the brain wake too easily. Then comes the part almost no one knows. Blackstrap molasses releases glucose slowly, far slower than honey, fruit, or juice. That slow, steady release is exactly what protects the brain from the 2 to 3 a.m. fuel dip that triggers the cortisol spike. You don't get a sugar high, you get an overnight buffer, the kind the aging liver struggles to provide on its own. And the benefits don't stop there. Blackstrap molasses naturally contains iron and trace minerals that support oxygen delivery and calm inflammatory signals. Older adults often underestimate how sensitive the night becomes to small drops in oxygen or rises in inflammation. When those stabilize, the brain finally stops scanning for danger. I think of an 81-year-old man named Leonard who came to me exhausted. He didn't have insomnia. He had fragmented sleep, 3-4 awakenings a night. Nothing dramatic, just never staying asleep. We tried gentle routines, breathing exercises, even timing adjustments. But the real change came when he added 1 tablespoon of blackstrap molasses in warm water an hour before bed. By the end of the first week, his awakenings dropped. By the end of the second week, he was sleeping through more nights than he wasn't. Not because molasses is strong, but because it gave his nervous system the minerals and slow fuel it had been missing for years. Here's how to use it correctly. 1 tablespoon blackstrap molasses, mix with warm water, drink 60 minutes before bed. Sipping slowly works best. Let the body absorb the signal gently. A few cautions. If you have diabetes, start with half a tablespoon and monitor your response. If your stomach is sensitive to thick syrups, dilute more heavily. Blackstrap molasses surprises people. But number 1 works even faster. It reaches the brain directly, switches off the nighttime alarm, and gives the body the exact fuel it needs to fall back asleep. Number 1, raw honey. The tablespoon that works faster than anything else on this list. Not because it forces sleep, but because it shuts down the exact biological alarm that wakes older adults at 2 or 3 in the morning. Here's the heart of it. When the brain senses even a slight drop in nighttime fuel, something that happens far more easily after 60, it sends out cortisol to correct it. That cortisol spike is the invisible jolt that snaps you awake. Raw honey stops that signal at its root. Honey provides immediate usable fuel for the brain. Not a sugar rush, not a spike, but just enough glucose to reassure the brain that everything is stable and safe. And when the brain feels safe, cortisol doesn't surge, and when cortisol doesn't surge, you don't wake up. But honey does something even more important. Natural sugars, especially in raw, unprocessed honey, activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the system that tells the body, you can let go now. Think of it as a sweetness-triggered safety signal. Gentle, biological, instinctive. Honey also supports serotonin, the precursor to melatonin, which helps the brain rebuild its nighttime rhythm. So in 1 tablespoon, you get stable fuel, lowered cortisol demand, quieter nerves, smoother melatonin production. That's why it sits at number 1. Let me give you an example. A 69-year-old woman named Carolyn came to me frustrated. She didn't have trouble falling asleep. She had trouble staying asleep every night, almost the same minute, 2:27 a.m. Awake, alert, no chance of drifting back down. We added 1 tablespoon of raw honey about 20 to 30 minutes before bed night 1. She still woke up, but the awakening was shorter. Night 3, she woke once, then fell back asleep within minutes. By the end of the first week, she slept straight through, something she hadn't done in years. Not because honey is powerful, but because her brain finally had what it needed. Here's how to use it correctly. 1 tablespoon raw honey, not the processed to squeeze bottle kind. Take it directly or melt it in warm water. Add a tiny pinch of salt if you want extra adrenal support. And a few cautions. If you have diabetes, use half a tablespoon and monitor your response. If you have severe reflux, take it alone rather than in water. Raw honey calms the night faster than anything else. But to use these remedies safely and effectively, there are 4 rules every senior should follow. Before you try any of these nighttime tablespoons, there are a few simple rules that keep everything safe, effective, and steady, especially for adults over 60. Rule 1. Don't use too much. Every option in this video works because the dose is small. 1 tablespoon is a signal, not a treatment. More than that can raise blood sugar, irritate the stomach, or disrupt the very rhythm you're trying to restore. Small amounts guide the body, large amounts confuse it. Rule 2, choose 1 to 2 items per night. You don't need all 6. Your nervous system responds best to clarity, not a crowd of signals. Pick the tablespoon that fits your pattern. Raw honey for 2 to 3 a.m. wake-ups, ACV for glucose stability, lemon juice for cortisol and liver support, blackstrap molasses for minerals. Consistency beats combination. Rule 3, give your body 30 to 60 minutes. Taking these right before you lie down can stimulate digestion or circulation. But with a 1-hour window, your system absorbs the signal, cortisol falls, and the brain begins its descent into rest naturally. Rule 4, adjust for your conditions. If you have diabetes, start with half tablespoons of honey or molasses. If you have reflux, dilute lemon or ACV more heavily, or use an alternative from this list. If you're on medication, especially glucose lowering or sedatives, monitor how your body responds over the first 3 nights. Now let's close this together. Sleep after 60 isn't lost. It's interrupted. Your nervous system isn't broken. It's waiting for the right signals: warmth, minerals, gentle glucose, natural acids. These aren't hacks. They're biological cues your body still understands, even after decades of wear. Try 1 tablespoon tonight, just 1. See how your night shifts. And if you're willing to begin, comment "try" below. Your experience may help another senior who's been waking in the darkness just like you. And when you're ready, watch the next video in this series. Restore sleep after 60. It may be the missing rhythm your nights have been looking for, because your body remembers how to sleep. You just have to remind it.